Hello, friends. In the series of learning computer organization and design, today we are going to focus on memory address mapping. So, memory address mapping is part of the main memory topic. Main memory, we have already started our discussion in the previous session. So, the link to that previous session I will provide in the description box today. So, the idea is that in the main memory, basically, we have discussed that there is a RAM and ROM chip, right? Main memory is consisting of these two chips. Now, we in the previous session we discussed that what the RAM chip is consisting of and what the ROM chip is consisting of, right? Like in case of ROM, you can only perform the read operation. You cannot opt the write operation in case of ROM. But in case of RAM, you can opt for both read and write operations. So we discussed about these things and how the chips are selected either from RAM and ROM whenever we are considering the main memory topic. But now today, our entire focus in the main memory is about the memory address mapping. So let's start understanding about what does this topic mean? What is this mapping here and which address within the memory we are supposed to map here? So let us start understanding this topic in more detail. So this is the memory address map. So before directly switching to what is a memory address mapping, let's build a background about this topic first. So the idea is that whenever the designer who is constructing or who is manufacturing the computer machine, they have already the knowledge of the size of the memory which has been required within the machine. So this aspect is very important. It's like if you don't know the size of memory your system is consisting of, then there are many operations which you cannot perform, like the instruction, because the instruction size is purely dependent on the size of the memory, right? So that is why it is very important that we should calculate the amount of memory required for a particular application, and accordingly we are assigning that application to either RAM and ROM. So, as I discussed in the previous session, also, the RAM and ROM chips within the hardware are actually aligned together. They are connected together as well. Like if you remember, we were using chip select 1 and chip select 2, right? And I was saying that CS1 is basically for the selecting the RAM, and CS2 is usually been used for selecting the ROM. So that is why it is very important that which kind of applications my computer system will perform and what is the amount of memory which is required for that specific application which we are trying to launch or run in our machine. So the interconnection, the connection between this RAM and ROM, right, is very important. So the next point here depicts that the interconnection between memory and processor is established from the knowledge of the size of the memory needed and the type of RAM and the ROM chips available. So this particular point is very obvious because basically whenever the instruction came, it starts from the processor or the CPU, and only then it will be processed within the memory. So the interaction between these two is playing a very important role, because here we are having the data bus, here we are having the address bus pin aligned. So until and unless your processor is aware of the size of the memory, okay, or the amount of the memory available here, your system will not be able to process with the instruction and to process with the data as well as with the address which it want to fetch from the memory. So that is why it is very important that the size of the memory should be known to the processor as well as to the every component which is attached to it. Now, the addressing of the memory can be established by the means of a table. So, here is a table which is playing a very important role. Usually, we are going to call this table as a memory address table. Okay, and what does this table signifies? It will specify the memory address assigned to the each chip. Now, here is a very important point to discuss. The point is that even if you must be aware that within our machine or the computer hardware, we are having some slots for the RAM, right? It means that we can say that at maximum of let's suppose you are purchasing a machine, you have purchased a machine, and whenever you purchase the hardware, the shopkeeper says that right now it is been facilitated with the 4 GB of the RAM, but it can be expandable up to 16 GB, right? So expansion, how that expansion will take place? The expansion can only take place because the manufacturer of this particular machine has designated some slots in this particular RAM. So if right now we are using one chip select which is consisting of 4 GB, okay, it could be like 2 GB and 2 GB, two RAM chips we are using to depict that this particular size of the RAM is actually 4 GB. Okay, so these slots, I mean that these slots are available, which are depicting that okay, your memory is expandable. All right, so that is the main points to ponder here. This is the reason why we need a table to demonstrate that in this particular RAM 1, which particular address lines are addressing the RAM 1, which particular lines are addressing that the data is stored in the RAM 2, and so on so forth. Okay, so the table we are going to learn now in the next slide. This will called as the memory address map, and it is basically nothing but the pictorial representation of assigned address space for each chip in the system. So this is an important place here to understand that which address space is allocated to which chip which we are using. So chip here we are talking about, the chip could be associated with the RAM also or with the ROM also. Under the RAM, as I said earlier, it could be like one RAM particular is been divided into four parts. Okay, so it could be like RAM 1, RAM 2, RAM 3, and RAM 4. But ROM within a memory will remain fixed. Okay, it is a fixed one. So it will only be one. We cannot make any changes into this particular ROM. So it will be taken as the same size as it is having right now. So let's start understanding about this memory address mapping table in more detail, that how this memory address map table works. So here is the table. So this table is actually being designed based on one example. So this is the example which we are taking right now. So this table is depicting the address space assignment. Which address space is assigned to which particular chip. So here we are using four chips and one ROM chip. Okay, accordingly, which address space is depicting that which particular RAM is have to be selected. Okay, so here the example says that we are using a RAM which is of size which is taking the 512 bytes. Okay, so this is the exact, the fixed size, you could say that, of a RAM. So what we did, we have, you can see here, this RAM is further been divided into four parts. So if you can simply divide this 512 by 4, how much you are going to achieve? You are going to achieve this. So it means that if we are using RAM 1, 2, 3, and 4, then each is of this particular capability. Okay, so it is very important to understand in order to understand this entire memory address mapping table, because later in the next part we are also going to describe about the other properties of memory address mapping. Okay, I will describe you in detail about a diagrammatical representation of this entire memory address mapping procedure. Then it is very important to understand how the RAM 1 and RAM 2, 3, and 4 is actually been divided from this fixed space. So the next is that we are taking the ROM, which is again of the same size. So both RAM and ROM has the same capability in this particular example. So the ROM we are considering is only of 512 bytes, but these RAM chips, which are being divided into four parts, So we have segmented them into the 128, 128, 128, and by 128. So 8 is nothing but the size of the word that these are going to take. So that is why it is 128 cross 8. So it is a very simple specification that we have taken just to demonstrate the idea. So what does it means by 128 and 1 by 512? It simply depicts that 128 is actually equals to 2 raised to power 7 and 512 is equal to 2 raised to power n 9. So this is what the point is. It means in order to designate the addresses of each RAM, I need the 7 bits. A 7-bit address is required. Okay, so that's why these 7 bits in the RAM are the same. Okay, so 7-bit address is required in order to depict that it is part of the RAM, and a 9-bit address is required in order to depict that it is part of the ROM. The address is allocated to the ROM, so it is requiring the 9 bits address. So that is the simplest meaning of the term. Later on, now whenever the user is passing the instruction and that instruction is requiring the main memory, or that is, let's suppose, the RAM, now the next procedure is to determine which particular RAM is to be selected for that particular for computing that instruction. So in order to do that, so you can look here, there is some symmetry been there: 0 0, 0 1, 1 0, and 1 1, right? So simply, as we know the rule, right? So this is in decimal 0, it means 0th RAM will be selected. So first RAM will chip will be selected, 0 1 is depicting that this second RAM will be selected, third RAM will be selected, 0 1 2 and 3. Okay, accordingly all those RAM chips to be selected. So this 8th and 9 bit in case of RAM is contributing in selection of the appropriate RAM chip, and this 8th and 9 bit in the ROM is depicting that a 9 bit address is required to demonstrate this idea. So then later on, so you can see here these are the 0 0 zeros and only one bin there. So what does it means? This 0000 and 1 says this 10th number of the bit is basically or usually for the selection of the ROM chip. CS2 is depicting the ROM chip, right? So CS2 is with the complement. So complement simply means that when we will be having the one value in the RAM chip, we will directly get the 000. So if this is active in case of ROM, we are going to get the complemented value of it in the room. So when I will explain this in a diagram, right, then you will have a more clarity about the things. So for the time being, we are only understanding what is this memory address mapping. So by referencing this address table only, okay, this memory address table only, we will be able to design a diagram of this. So this is nothing but the memory connection to the CPU. So we will be having interaction between CPU and memory that I am going to depict in the next session, right? So we will learn that how RAM and ROM chips are connected to the CPU through which lines? Data and the address buses. So there are the low order address bits. These could be the low order address lines. In the address bus selects the byte within the chips. So it will simply depict that whether the RAM chip 1 or from 1 to 4, which particular chip is to be selected, and other lines in the address selects the particular chip through its chip select operation. So this is the another line that we are going to use. So let's understand this in more detail in the diagram. So here I have actually provided a glimpse of how we are going to design this diagram. This was a little bit logical diagram, so that's why I thought that instead of teaching you from a figure, it will be better if I will explain you the idea through the diagrammatical representation by designing it by myself, right? So this is nothing but the memory address mapping, so which we were learning in the previous session. So we know that the 7 bits address are designated for the selecting the RAM, okay, just because the size of this RAM is 128 by 8. So I have only written it here just because the space was very less for me. Otherwise, each and every RAM here is consisting of 128 by 8 bit size. Okay. And this ROM is consisting of 512 cross 8 size, this much bytes. So that's why 9-bit address is required to demonstrate the address value of the ROM. So later on, if you will look here, so what I did is, this is nothing but the CPU. Okay. So this is the CPU representation. What the CPU is having the data buses and the address bus. So address line is having, let's suppose here we are having how much lines we are having, 1 to 7, which will be common line. So I have simply written it as a 1 to 7. Then there is 8th, 9th and 10th level, 8th, 9th and 10th address. And then 11 to 15 will be the addresses been used for some other purposes. Okay, like for the opcode as well as for determining the mode bit. So here the CPU or the instruction size is basically been considered of the address is of the 16 bits been considered here of the CPU. All right. So let's start understanding in more detail that how RAM and ROM chips will work. So as demonstrated in the previous lecture, we were having the RAM chip consisting of CS1 and CS2 complement, right? This is for RAM and ROM. Then there is in the RAM we can perform read and write operation. So these lines are there, and this AD7 is depicting the address lines from first bit to 7 bits. Okay, these 1 to 7 bits, just because these are common, so that's why we have simply represented it by AD7. Then all RAM 2, RAM 3 and RAM 4 will be having the same clock signals, same timing signals being there. And then there comes the ROM chip. ROM is consisting of the chip select CS1 and CS2 complement. Then there is a one address line from 1 to 7. Then 8th and 9th address line is there. Okay. And this data bus is carrying the data. So if you can see here, the RAM is bidirectional. But the ROM is only the unidirectional. Just because in the ROM we can only perform the read, that's why it is unidirectional. And the RAM we can perform read and write both, that is why it is bidirectional in nature. All right, so let's start understanding about how this entire diagram will work. So first of all, what we are having is, we are having these read and write operations. So directly this read and write operation, read is attached, the read line will be attached to all the RAM chips where the read signal has been there. Directly we will attach it. Okay, so here in the case of this read line, the read line in the case of ROM, it will be attached to this CS1, because CS1 is for the RAM basically, for selecting the RAM. See, you can see that in order to select the RAM, I will be using the CS1. Okay, so CS1 means this the output from this 8th and 9th bit address line, I will be attaching it to the CS1. But here, just because in the ROM we have not defined any read of signal, you could say that separately. So this CS1 will depict the read for us in case of ROM. This is the one point to understand. Okay. So then there is about the write chip. So write line is there. So we can directly attach the write. There is nothing to remember here, or there is no point to understand why this happens. Directly it will be attaching to all the RAM chips, and we are not performing any write operation in case of ROM, so that's why there is no need to connect it to the ROM. So then there comes the 1 to 7 lines. So 1 to 7 lines are again going directly. So I will simply pick this, I'm so sorry, pick this line, and we'll try to attach it to this AD7 here and here, to all the values in the RAM. Okay, so here also 1 to 7 address line is there in the ROM, so this will also be attached here. this. See, ROM is also consisting of 7, 8, and 9 bits. So these 7 will remain same. Okay, so these 7 address lines I have provided here. Now let's discuss about this 8th, ninth, and 10th bit. So this 8th and ninth, as I specify you earlier as well. So these are just 000110 and 11. Okay. So by simplifying it means that this particular line is going to depict me which RAM I am going to select. So RAM, in order to select the RAM, the control signal is CS1, CS1, CS1. Okay. So what I will do, I will be using a decoder here which is of size 2 cross 4, and I will attach the control lines here 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so what does this control line will do now? Let me change the ink color to demonstrate the idea in much better way. So this 0th value should be attached to this CS1. This first value should be attached to this CS1 of the RAM 2. This value is going to be connected to this CS1, okay, and third is going to connect to the fourth RAM chip like this. All right, so this 8th and ninth bit is depicting me which particular RAM chip I am going to select. And then there comes the 10th line. Okay, so directly here also 8th and ninth line is there. So what I am going to do is, in case of ROM, I will directly take this value and provide it here. Similarly, this ninth bit in the case of ROM, because ROM will be taking the direct values because it requires the 9-bit address line. Okay, so we have done with all this. Now we are left with this 10th line, and you can see here CS1 is also done, read, write, and address bit 7s are done. So we are only left with this CS2 complement value. Okay, so again, let me change the color. So what does this 10th bit is depicting? See, this RAM is actually having 0 value and the ROM is having 1 value, right? So what we will do, this 10th particular bit is going to directly be attached to this. So this is the reason why we are taking CS2 complement here. Okay, because once it will be active, its value will be 1, it will take the complemented value by default. So it will become 0 here. So same is for the all RAM chips. It is attached to this CS2, CS2, and to this CS2. And here to this CS2, what we will do is we need the value 1 here. So it is already complemented. So complement of complement is going to give me the exact simple value of 1. Okay, so it is coming 1 here. 1 will get complemented to 0. So 0 will again get complemented because chip select is again taking the inverted data only. That is why we are using it. So just because it has been demonstrated here in this memory address mapping like CS2 complement, that is why we are taking it like this. Okay. Otherwise, if you don't want to take the complemented value, then similarly you can directly attach it. But for that, what you need to do is you need to implement the inverter here, and you have to directly attach it to the ROM chip without using the inverter. All right, so this was all about the how the interaction between the CPU and the main memory will take place whenever we will be using the memory address mapping. So in order to design this diagram, you need to refer to this memory address map. So whenever this kind of question came, first thing is that you will be defining the memory address map in a pictorial form. Then the secondly, you can designate or design it using the diagrammatical representation like this. With this, I hope that you are able to understand this entire session. Thank you so much, students, for joining the session. Thank you.